My name is Rachel. Welcome to Sober Banter. I am hosting solo, but I am not solo today. I have a guest, and I'm pretty excited because I really like his Instagram account. This is the voice behind, well, technically you have two, but the main one that I think we connected off of is the Office Recovery. And there's so much more to you than just like who's running this Office Recovery account on Instagram. Not only are you Brenton, a former pastor, the voice of the Office Recovery, and passionate advocate for compassionate leadership, as well as faith, humor, and healing to help others. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. What an opportunity. Absolute honor.
Oh, well, thank you. I still feel so new in the podcasting world, but when I was reading some of the things about you, I'm like, you have such a unique, interesting story, and you seem very parallel to Colin and I are just all about the humor.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Office is one of our, and Always Sunny, The Office.
Yep.
I mean, we can watch those literally every single day and not get bored of the reruns.
Yeah.
And it's that, or Arrested Development. That's another one on our list.
Right.
And when we got sober, we were so scared it was going to be boring. And it's not. It's really, really not.
No, you catch like all the little nuances that you didn't even catch before.
I know. In The Office, there's not a lot of drinking either. So some of the shows like Always Sunny, it's based in a bar.
Right.
But anyways, I will let you kind of introduce yourself and how you got here and what got you sober and your sobriety date and whatnot. It was in July of 22 is what I know, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my name is Brenton, and my sober date is July 24th of 22. My journey to sobriety was through the rehab treatment center route. So that's kind of the direction that I started out with. I did detox and residential at a treatment center in my hometown here. And then following that, I did some intensive outpatient for 12 weeks and then another outpatient stint for 90 days. And at the end of that 90 days, the treatment center that I went to said, well, you're basically an alumni now. You can just come back whenever you like and attend classes and group sessions and things like that. So I did that for another probably 3 or 4 months. So all in all, my experience with the treatment center was just shy of a full year.
I do want to ask, when you say hometown, like what state are you in? I hadn't even asked that.
Oh, yeah. I'm in Washington. Yeah, Eastern Washington. So that's kind of how my sobriety journey started. And there's obviously a whole bunch of stuff that leads up to getting me to a point where I'm like, I need help. And that's very much how my story was. I got to a point where there was a moment of clarity where I literally texted my wife and said, I think I'm an alcoholic and I need help. And that's all I said. And I was able to connect with a friend who had just gotten out of treatment himself about 6 months prior. And so he was able to kind of connect me with the treatment center here. And that was a Saturday morning. And by Monday morning, I was in detox and residential and was there for 2.5, 3 weeks. So that's kind of how it started. The Office Recovery started about a year after that. And
yeah, it takes time. Like things like this, we didn't start till 3 years sober, because it's, of course, we went to meetings and talked about it with other people, but like on an online platform, you're still, there is a little scare of like, whoa, what am I, just putting. Now, I should back up. I have been online from pretty much like month 1 and on, but how did you, I'm very curious. How did you feel texting that? Like saying to your wife, like, I think I'm an alcoholic. That would have hit me like bricks.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously we've talked about it all, and she had obviously suspicions, and there's a lot of stuff going on there that she was like, okay, something's off, something's not right. And I mean, I was at the point where there's a lot of medical stuff going on that I was trying to just explain away. And there was a lot of hiding, a lot of deception, things like that going on. And that's really where I started to see a turn in myself, where I saw those behavioral changes that just weren't me. Like, and I couldn't stop. And so I knew I needed external intervention, and I knew I needed to get somewhere that would, essentially force me into sobriety, because I wouldn't have been able to stop on my own. In sending the text,
I cried the first time I said I was alcoholic. Like, I mean, and not like a big like sob. It was at a meeting and you introduced yourself and I'm like, my name's Rachel. And it was my second meeting. The first one, they didn't go around the room. And like, I will never forget it. I can tell you what chair, where I was in the room, and it just
Yeah.
it hit hard.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to kinda say it and admit it was definitely a huge thing. I mean, at the time, I mean, when I texted it, I wasn't sober when I texted it.
I was gonna ask, I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's usually the I called for help when I was drunk too. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's like, and
yeah,
you wake up and you're like, that was, I don't know, but now the cards are there,
yeah.
and
Yeah, and I texted that, and we had started the ball rolling so quickly to find a place for me and get me in a spot that by the time, I really sobered up, like the train was leaving the station and I was like, all right, I'm in for this thing. Granted, once I was in detox and stuff, there was a couple of days right at the beginning where I was like, "Oh, I don't need this. I got this under control," and was going to AMA and just leave the treatment center, and I, thankfully I didn't. Yeah, and then it was absolutely life changing for me, that whole experience. But yeah, texting the message, "I'm an alcoholic and I need help," was very much just a moment of clarity, and there's kind of a radical vulnerability in it that I didn't notice at the time, but it was absolutely just a grace that I was able to text that and send it because that's what got everything started.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I think with recovery and in your experience, you can share. I think jumping on it is what you should do. If someone is calling and asking for help with addiction, that window can be so small
Yeah.
that yeah, even like you said, a few days in, you're like, I don't know if I need this. Like this is kind of crazy. And I think had mine not moved as fast as it did, I could have probably talked myself out of it and
Yeah.
been like, because I wasn't a rock bottom. I didn't lose. I wasn't homeless. I wasn't. I mean, internally, 100% rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like I do not ever want to go back there. Never. But if you looked at my life, like living wise, yeah, I hadn't like I still had my son. I was still married, have a house, car, the things that don't, they're
Yeah.
but that's what people like look at. They're like, well, if I'm able to do this, then I
Right.
might not have a problem. And so I think getting as quickly as you can to like get help. Do you think that seeing your friend that 6 months prior had gotten help influenced anything? That was kind of in the back of your mind of like,
It may have been. I just remember, at the time, I was at a point where, like, in recovery, they'll talk about how essentially, the addiction gets to such a level that the addict almost wishes they were caught. Like they need a way out and they don't know how to get a way out. And like I say to, the folks that I talk to, when it comes to that moment of clarity, like you just said, like you got to act on it in that moment because as soon as that passes, there's no guarantee that you get another one. And we've heard far too many stories that have ended tragically because folks haven't acted in that moment of clarity. And so I always remind folks that, if you have even just the faintest like inkling that there's a problem or that there's something, or you get this glimpse, like for me, I got this glimpse really of what was to come, of like what my life is going to be like if I keep going down this road, and it's going to be the loss of everything that I really, really, truly, deep down loved. And I think it was just the glimpse of that kind of shook me enough to send that text. But yeah, so the moment of clarity, you act on it, and then you just kind of go from there, and yeah, submit to whatever's happening. So
yeah, and kind of like the acceptance is the hardest probably part, and then it's the rebuilding from there.
yeah.
So you were a pastor or are I don't know. I saw that you're getting your MBA in leadership, which is awesome. I
Mhm.
think people in recovery just are great leaders because we have been to the low of lows
Yeah.
and like seeing someone walk in on day one and then seeing them at 1 year, like it is the most rewarding experience.
Yeah.
Like, not that it's just really cool. So leadership it's kind of like doing something you love
Mhm.
because encouraging others. So how did you kind of go from pastor? Was that pre-sobriety? And then talk about where your timeline kind of went with that. You look really young for pastor. So I'm
Yeah, I was a young pastor. So yeah, it was pre-sobriety. It was pre really the giant jump into my active addiction. But the pastoral ministry that I was a part of, I led a church just north of Seattle for several years, and the ending of that, although it was my decision to step away from that position, the ending of that was what really brought all of the internal struggle that I had been suppressing really to the forefront. And for whatever reason, that was kind of the cataclysmic catalyst, if you will, that kind of crashed everything into, my soul, I guess, where all the internal thoughts of failure and not living up and expectations and perfectionism and all of those kinds of things became no longer avoidable. And so as a result of stepping away from that role where I thought that was my dream position, as what I had gone to school for initially. It's what, I'd been trained in, and that's where my passion and my heart was. And so to have that end, even though I was the one that made the call, there was still this just nagging sense of failure, and it just kind of overwhelmed me. And that's where my active addiction really launched in. And I think there was both an escapism aspect to it, where I was trying to escape the reality of what I was experiencing and feeling. That kind of morphed into this, misguided. I think I need alcohol to show up a certain way. I think I need alcohol to be a certain way in front of people. And so it kind of became that thing. And then it became a daily thing and a daily dependence. And then it became, physical. And then I think it becomes deeply, deeply spiritual as well. And it hooks you and slowly, slowly kills you. So the pastoral side was, I still drank as a pastor, but very much socially, just out with dinner, every once in a while, that kind of thing. But yeah, it was really the collapse of, I guess, the paradigm of what I thought my world was going to be, and I didn't know how to cope with it. And so I quickly found that drinking allowed me to both escape and then also on the flip side, show up in a way that I thought I needed to show up for people rather than being myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And is your wife in the program, or she is one of the normal drinkers that doesn't really have a problem with it, or?
Yeah, she's a normie.
Okay.
Yeah, so she still drinks very, very rarely, but she has been an amazing support and encouragement to me in the journey. I mean, we don't keep alcohol in the house or anything like that. She doesn't drink around me. It's very rare for her to have a drink, but yeah, we talk and joke about all the time how, like, she's never wondered if she had a problem with alcohol. Like, or I remember even back when we
Whoa.
were dating, like she would just like order a beer and then drink half of it and leave it and be like, just chill. And it
That's
was, and
magic.
like Brand, I'm like, what are you doing leaving this thing just sitting here? Like, this is liquid gold. And I remember back then even thinking like, this is nutso. Like, how can you just walk away from this? And I mean, that should have been that should have been a clue right there. But yeah, so she's a normie, but she's been, yeah, absolutely amazing and incredible. And it hasn't been without, obvious rough times, and a lot that we've had to work through, and a lot that I've had to work through, rebuilding trust and kind of rebuilding a life that I started to tear apart. And
She probably sees the change too, just because, like, it's not just alcoholics who can see a change. I mean, we probably feel it on a very deep level because we understand that inner feeling. It's just like any other relation that can't really understand baseball things if you're not playing baseball, but you understand if, like, so I think there is a deeper level, but it didn't take much time before other people that have no addiction issues were like, "Whoa, you have a different aura, a glow, it's."
yeah,
So I'm sure it was pretty easy for her to see, like, she wants to I haven't found any partner who doesn't wanna support unless they have a drinking problem themselves and they're mad and resentful that they are losing their drinking buddy.
yeah, yeah,
And that's probably how it would have been had Colin and I not got sober together. Again, that was very serendipitous. That was very, I have no idea how we have the same sobriety date, but uh, we would drink each other under the table.
hmm
So I'm like, I know, and it was funny in recovery because I know the kind of drinker he is, and he knows the kind of drinker I am. And so,
yeah,
like, there was no bullshitting each other. There was no, this is kind of how it was. He's like, no, I was there.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it was bad. And which I think is why we like comedy so much, because there's a couple ways you can go about looking at your past, and we choose to laugh about it. And there's a time to be serious, obviously. Like our first year, or he'll even talk about it. My first year, like I didn't think anything about recovery was funny. It was very serious. It was life and death.
Mhm.
I was very hot and cold, which no surprise, I'm alcoholic. But now I mean, it's really hard not to.
Yeah.
So how do you incorporate humor in your recovery?
Yeah. So that's a great segue to, why I created Office Recovery. Like it kind of birthed out of my time in the treatment center where like at the end of every week we could all all the people in the center could choose a movie to watch or whatever for the end of the night instead of like a final group session. And one of the things I noticed was almost every time, unanimously, everyone would vote on some sort of a comedy. And so just got me thinking while I was in there, I was like, what is it about humor? Like, there's got to be more to humor than just simply a momentary escape from reality that keeps drawing like these people in the treatment center that you would, they're at the bottom of the bottom, right? If they're in there. And I'm one of them, and what is it that keeps drawing us back into humor? And so that got me kind of on a path and a journey of researching what it is about humor that's actually healing. And in my research, I mean, there's so many studies out there that show not only the on the neurological side and the neuroplasticity side of what humor can do to reshape our brain and rewire our neurons, but it has a ton of benefits when it comes to anti-fragility, when it comes to community building, when it comes to being able to address the trauma of our past. If we are enveloping ourselves in humor, we're able to see those events a little bit outside of itself and be able to actually walk through those, maybe those traumatic events that shaped who we've become. So there's a ton of benefits to humor when it comes to specifically the recovery process. So a year into my sober journey, I was watching The Office like I always do because it's always on repeat, and it has been since the early 2000s. And I was like, The Office is the funniest show in the world. Like that's a hill I will die on. The Office is the greatest TV show ever created. And so I was like, I want to combine The Office with recovery. And there were so many memes that I started to like think about that. I was like, oh, that's hilarious to me. And it really started out with like, this is a joke for myself to just like post these. And yeah, and people have, responded to it. And it's developed into this thing where it's been an absolutely beautiful connection with so many people where not only are they able to kind of get a laugh out of the memes and it kind of brings them back to the episodes that it's referencing, but I've been able to have some really like intense and deep and real conversations with people. And I think that's the beauty of humor is it can lighten the load just enough for you to take that next right step. And it can also connect you with people that you otherwise probably never would have engaged with. And so then when that connection's made, I mean, then you're walking side by side with somebody through life. And that's massive in general, but in the recovery space, that's absolutely essential. And so that's where Office Recovery was born. And that's kind of where humor comes into play for it. And I like what you said earlier that there are certainly times that are serious. There's a lot of times, like for a while, my tagline was recovery is hard enough as it is. Like it is a heavy thing. I mean, you're morphing into the person you were meant to be, and that transformation doesn't come without pain, and it's like a surgeon coming in with a scalpel and cutting off the parts of you that no longer serve you, and that doesn't feel good. And so there's a lot of heaviness, there's a lot of pain and a lot of trauma in the recovery world. And if I can help, or if we can kind of embrace this aspect of either looking at our past humorously or just being able to shape present circumstances with a little bit of humor and be able to smile and laugh. And especially on a hard, tough day, sometimes that's all we need to kind of take the next breath and move forward. So,
100%. You said it so well. It's like there is another level of connection, and it's always nice when you find someone who likes the same stuff as you, and it's really easy to yeah, the memes. Do you have a personal, like, favorite meme that you've made?
oh, that's a good question. The
I mean, Michael Scott is probably in, like, anything with him.
Yeah, yeah, I was like any of his stuff. I really like, so I think the two that just pop to the front of mind. There's the one where Michael is jumping on the train, and in the actual episode, he's like, I'm running away from my responsibilities and it feels good. And I meme that into running away from my alcoholism and it feels good. But just knowing like his cadence and how he says it, like I can hear it. And I don't know, that one just strikes me as super funny, but also like oddly, poignant and deep. And then the other one is when Creed gets on the bus, like when he's hitchhiking and he's like playing hooky from work, and he sees everyone on like all the work, his coworkers on the bus, and he's like, "Oh my god." I memed that one too, and was like, I think it was a dry January one where I was like, I'm taking a break from dry January, and then sees like the recovery community and is like, oh, uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. That one was super fun to make too. But yeah, there's
Creed is a great one too. You could put that with any like AA meeting, and he's like,
oh yeah,
"What am I doing here? Like
yeah,
your first day sober. Like, what
yep.
am I doing?"
Well,
Creed
he's
is
like,
my
yeah,
husband's
he's like the
favorite.
old guy. Yeah, the old guy in the meetings, right? That's
Yeah.
like just had this insane life and just talks about it or doesn't. And you're not, he'll say like little bits and you're like, who is this guy? Like, that's Creed. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And then you even have like you could the Kelly romance. There's always studying treatment centers on the back end because I'm going back to school too. I laughed so hard at the chapter. It's like love in the treatment center. And it's like, you have to watch out for it because well, technically it's so this is where it gets serious. It can be a sub addiction, but
Right.
on the initial, I'm like, oh God, having to keep these kids apart. Like, no, you can't just substitute drinking for
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's a healthy boundary to it. I mean, like if someone has done that and it works, I know, but typically, at least on the school side, they say, "Yep, when you're in your first like 90 days, you're not supposed to like be in this intense relationship and finding love with someone else who's in rehab." And
Yeah. Yeah.
I again, that's how I don't know how my husband and I made it because we were both alcoholics, so to have not one of us be like, well, let's just go back or something happen of that nature, we feel very lucky. Well,
Well, to your point about love in the treatment center, I did a meme based on that with Michael Scott, where it's like they tell you not to date, for the first 6 months or year. And I just did date Mike, where he's like, nice to meet me. Like, I was like,
yeah.
see, stepping out of rehab. Like,
So how do you like incorporate faith in with all this? So how do you stay sober if you went through the treatment center and you said, you can come back whenever? Are you going through like 12-step based? Are you just kind of
hmm.
staying in a different community? Like how do you stay sober?
Yeah. So when I first got out of the treatment center, I knew I was desperate enough to look and consider like every option out there. And so I had, the same buddy of mine that dropped me off at the center was like, hey, start coming to meetings with me. So I did that. So that in conjunction with the stuff at the treatment center that I did for, the next 9 months or whatever, really kind of launched and laid that foundation for me for the first year and a half of everything. And so, yeah, I did the 12 steps, have a sponsor. I still go to meetings when I can. It's not as often as it used to be. And part of that is, yeah, the community that I've developed and that I surround myself with now is totally different. And coming out of rehab, it's a clean slate. There's like nobody there. And so AA and the rooms of recovery was kind of my community to start out with. And so yeah, I went that route for a long time and was going to meetings very often and consistently. And then outside of that, once I started office recovery and started connecting with folks, I mean, nobody's more surprised than I am at how amazing the recovery and the sober community has been online. I never was a social media guy prior to office recovery. Like, I mean, I had social media accounts. I've had Facebook since 2005. Like, I was in one of the test schools before they launched nationwide when it was, there was the wall and everything. And
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah, so I've had it for a very long time. But, launching office recovery and then starting to connect with people and getting these awesome like connections and conversations going has been so helpful for me. And then just constantly thinking and creating content for office recovery very much keeps me in the mind space of recovery all the time. And then, adding on top of that, fitness and working out and surrounding myself with like-minded people, even folks who still have a healthy relationship with alcohol, but their pursuits and their like life goals match up more with mine. And so just surrounding myself with folks like that has been huge too. So yeah, I'm in a great place. I went back to school. I'm graduating in June.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Exactly 1 month I'll be walking.
Oh,
So
that's
which will be fun.
awesome.
I've never walked to get a diploma or degree. So I was homeschooled in high school. That doesn't count. Like you're walking to the living room. And then my bachelor's was all online, and I wasn't gonna fly to Chicago to walk the aisle there. And so here I'm gonna walk and get my master's. So that'll be fun.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
like going back to school, I did things like I wrote a kid's book that I'm working on getting published right now, and then office recovery, and then the bear crawl training stuff. Like all of these things are like never would have happened in active addiction, like outside of recovery. There's no way any of this would have come about. So
And what's the bear, if you want to segue into how's the bear crawl starting? Or how did that start? Because that's second, right?
yeah,
So office recovery, then now it's bear crawl, which I hadn't really
so
mentioned that yet.
yeah, so office recovery was that's kind of my baby, my main thing. The Bloomsday bear crawl, I thought I came up with the idea about a year ago, but we just officially launched like on Instagram, and YouTube and Facebook this month. And what it is it's a year-long fundraising campaign to raise funds for aftercare scholarships for the treatment center that I was a part of, which is Royal Life Center. Um, so I was a recipient of the scholarship. My case manager when I was in detox was like, "Hey, we think you should go to to aftercare." And I couldn't, there's no way I could afford it. Like it's crazy expensive and my insurance wouldn't do it. Well, unbeknownst to me, she apparently put my name in for a scholarship, and I was offered this scholarship, and it covered 100% of my aftercare, my 12 weeks with them.
Probably a huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference because you've got detox and residential, which kind of starts to tear up the foundation a little bit, but really it's like all that aftercare that lays the foundation. It really solidifies what you like, what you know, your mind starts becoming clear enough to actually start to take in things and understand
And remember
concepts
them.
and remember them,
Yeah.
and you start to build community with people, like actual community, because you're kind of out living life now, not just in your, little bubble in the treatment center. So it's absolutely vital, I think, and important for folks if they can get into some sort of aftercare program if they're going the treatment center route. So anyway, so I was like, okay, I want to do something and give back to the community that's been so incredibly helpful for me. So I'm doing the year-long fundraiser. It culminates in May of 2026 with me bear crawling the Bloomsday race, which is 7.46 miles. Um, in May, I'll be bear crawling the whole thing, and the whole thing will just be a giant fundraiser. And all the donations, 100% of the donations, are going to go into the scholarship and be able to help out as many people as possible be able to get into aftercare. So
That's
that's
incredible.
what the Bloomsday Bear Crawl is, and yeah, and it's been fantastic. So I'm training every day, and it's absolutely brutal, but I'm super excited for it, and I think it's going to be really really cool to see the folks that we get to help out, and yeah, and then just have a crazy adventure along the way.
I think
It's
that's
going to be great.
awesome because and that's another thing that when I was in school in one of the classes in the ethics class, we went to interview other counselors and talk about like the harder parts of the job. And they without doubt said getting payment or getting someone approved because like they're one question off and then the insurance company won't cover the recovery treatment or they won't cover, like you said, the aftercare. Like they'll only approve sometimes as little as like 7 days, some people as much as 90. But I think 90 is about the max. Like I haven't really heard of anything more than 90. And as you and I probably know, it that there is so much growth. I would say even the first 6 months or year, honestly, like getting in your routine and your foundation because we talk what it's 30 days to build a habit, right? No,
Right.
so we're doing two things. We're unlearning an addiction, which is a chemical balance in our brain that tells us this substance will make us feel good, even though it's not going to. And
Right.
so we're fighting that dragon all at the same time, trying to build these new habits. And it's the best experience, but it is hard. And having
Yeah.
tools, people, like-minded individuals around you, it's so important.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
pivotal. Like it is And not everyone, I talked about, I had my house, I had a car. A lot of people, when they enter recovery, that's not the sentences they're always saying. They might have nothing. They might have pushed away the family and friends. So, like, the only chance they have at recovery is to get support from other people. So I can't wait to share and promote this. So I didn't even know the whole backstory of the year campaign, and I think that's incredible.
No, it's gonna be fantastic, and yeah, the it takes a minimum of 90 days for your dopamine levels to begin to reset. Like, let's begin to reset. And so even if you're out of treatment, even if you get the full max 90 days, you're all of a sudden back out in your home or on the street or whatever the case is. But now all of a sudden, you're at this level, you're used to being at this level, but you have no tools, you have no resources, no community on how to manage and start to find joy in the things that we're meant to find joy in, that are supposed to be the actual dopamine spikes. And so, I mean, what are you going to do? Like,
You also
in
have
a
to
lot of
surround yourself with
cases,
other people. Like, you can
yeah,
find dopamine spikes, and it's so easy to slip out. And
yeah,
because when you're in a treatment center, right? Like, you're in you're kind of, you don't, unless you do AMA, you're not leaving. And that's not how life is. We have temptation around us every single day. Like, I loved one of my sponsees used to, her parents were just scared about her going back to her apartment, being like, what if you find a bottle there? What if you, like, come across alcohol? Like, they were so happy to have their daughter back. And
yeah.
she's like, pulls out her ID, she pulls out her keys. She's like, if I wanted a drink, I can go get one. Like, having it in front of me is not going to make me go jump into a fountain. Like, I have the choice every single day. I can go seek it out if I choose, and I choose not to because it was destroying I'm alcoholic. Once I take a sip, I'm going to keep going. And I'm like, yeah, but the aftercare is what teaches you that, until you get to a place where when you see alcohol, you're not gonna you have to learn how to not be triggered, or it takes time.
It does take time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So any way that, we can give back in donations, I'm expecting the donation platform to open up in June. And so then that's when, I'll start accepting fundraising and start promoting the actual fundraising aspect of it. And so that's when that will come about. But yeah, I'm just excited to see what we get to do as a recovery community to help other folks get, like, an actual chance at getting their life back or starting a new life or whatever the case might be, but getting an opportunity, like just the opportunity to do something. So that's what I'm super, super excited about.
That sounds, and there's a lot of laughter too, and like you said,
Mhm. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if you had to, like, share right now with someone struggling who's listening or thinking about getting sober and they're like that teetotal, what would you have for advice, or what would you say?
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of honesty for someone to take a good hard look at themselves and figure out. And I think if you're asking the question, and I said this to a friend of mine just recently, if you're asking the question, do I have a problem with alcohol? Odds are you probably do, because I think folks with a healthy relationship with alcohol don't ask that question. They don't have to. It doesn't even cross their mind. It's like leaving a glass of water on the counter. And so I think if you're listening to this podcast, if you're, Googling, am I an alcoholic or any of those kinds of things, if there's even the slightest like hint that you might have a problem, that is your moment of clarity, and that's where you need to take an honest look and say, okay, what level is this at? Like, do I need to go the recovery, the rehab treatment center route because I just can't control it myself? Do I need to get into a program and just start visiting different ones and go to, like, I mean, there's a million different support groups out there for all different types of people. Like, walk into a meeting, see how it feels, try a different meeting, see how it feels. Hop on the sober curious or the sober community on social media and just start meeting people. And you're going to hear stories all over the map of, folks that just knew it wasn't good for them. And so they stopped, all the way up to, folks in and out of prison for decades, and now they're sober. And so, like, you'll meet people that way. I think the first thing is you honestly have to just assess, at what level is alcohol playing in my life, and then following that, your next step is really thinking, okay, what's the next right step that I need to take to really recover myself and to become, it's cliche, but the best version of myself. And is that treatment center? Is that meetings? Is that just a supportive community that'll walk with me as I drop, alcohol out of my life? I think those are kind of the first next steps that somebody would need to do. And I mean, I say this all the time on my social medias, but if anyone is listening to this, if you ever want to talk, ever want advice, I don't know what I can give you for advice, but I'll talk to you. I'll listen to your story, and I'll be there for you. And if we can walk through this journey together, I'm here with you guys. And so that's, I think that's what I would say for kind of initial first steps. If anyone's questioning or wondering if they've got a problem, is kind of follow that pathway. And don't lose hope. Like if you're waking up, you woke up this morning, there's hope. Like you wake up tomorrow, there's hope. Like there's always an opportunity for you to take that next right step. And don't be afraid to reach out. I think a lot of folks, the number one thing that folks deal with, I think, when it comes specifically to alcohol, is shame. And shame dissipates when stories are shared in safe spaces. Share your story with me. Find somebody you can share your story with, someone you feel comfortable with that's not going to judge you. And you'll be amazed at how the shame just disappears. And there's such an incredible freedom in being able to share your story. And you realize you're not alone. You're not alone at all. There are tons of us out here that would love to, hold your hand and walk you through this.
I always say ditto on that. And I will even go the step further that, and I'm sure this is the same with you, that if someone reaches out to me and I am not able to, like, in that moment, step aside because I have a 5-year-old. Like, and life can be life. Like, if someone reached out to you while you were walking, you're like, I'm or doing this podcast right now. What I will say is, as soon as I see that text, if I am not available, I know someone else who is available and I can send you that resource, or I will text them and I have at least 100 numbers in my phone right now of,
Yeah.
hey, I am so grateful you reached out to me. I am in the middle of something, but I don't want you to wait to talk to someone. Let me get you in contact with this person, or here's the nearest meeting to you. I will do all the back work. I will
Right.
help you. So I say that just to give a cushion of, if someone did reach out to me and they're like, but you said on the podcast, I'm like, okay, if I can, 100%, I will. I've literally stopped to take a call during coaching my son's soccer game. And again, and I took the minute, I did I'm going to connect to you, and I will 100% stop the world to help. And
Yeah.
I think anyone in recovery is that way. That's not just me. That is
Yeah.
anyone who's been in those lows of lows and the feeling of addiction. Once they have time in sobriety, they're like, anyone who's just curious, you're like, oh my God, it's like a secret. It's like, yes, no. It's like, but it's not a secret. But there is shame. And I think shame's what kind of makes it that secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, could you imagine like Michael Scott running a treatment center?
Oh man,
Like,
that would be
that'd be
it would
awesome.
probably yeah, it would be probably the most successful treatment center in the world.
Yeah, like he's
Yeah.
just like the world's best alcoholic. Like
Right.
he got
Yeah.
the mug and everything. That would be, I love
Yeah.
the world's best boss. Um,
Yes.
well, okay, so what
And
is,
the fact he bought it for himself.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, like the Jamaica trip would be a fun episode too, of him coming back, of like talking about all the meetings out there, and instead like
Yeah.
except I think he brought back alcohol on that one. It doesn't matter. Again,
Yeah, he did. He brought back rum for one of the gifts.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I laugh at stuff like that too, because even watching it on TV, watching someone get gifted that, I'm like, it would have been gone that night.
Yeah.
They're like, when people are like, oh yeah, I'll just save this. Like, it was someone recently who just talked about when we see someone has a mini bar at home and we're like, how do you keep it stocked? Like,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Same.
baffling.
I'm the same way. It blows my mind. Like I'll go places and they'll be like, I mean anything like
You just keep that
a wine cabinet, like a mini bar, like any of that. I'm like, so it just like sits there, like
there? You don't think
like
about it
it's
all
wild.
the time?
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Uh, But yeah, there's that one. And then the other with The Office when it's the Christmas party, and he's
Oh my
you
god.
think this is enough to get 15 people plastered, and it's like 15 bottle, like 15 half gallons of vodka, and the worker guy's delivery is like so good. He's just like 15 bottles of vodka. Yeah, that should do it.
That didn't even stay. Oh yeah, and I think that's one where yeah, I was like in to me, I'm like, is that enough? Like that's
Yeah,
like one per person. So,
yeah.
okay, like I guess and
Well,
I
Meredith does catch her hair on fire in that episode.
yeah, that's fine. She
So
looked like she was
yeah,
oh yeah, because she also has the alcoholic and the way that they do
yeah,
it in that episode, probably not the best way to like call someone out, but they are semi-supportive. But that
right.
is not what it will be like if you tell someone you have a problem. It's usually pretty kept under. And honestly, the one thing I think in recovery I found out is not as many people care as I thought. And we have this lie that we tell ourselves with the alcohol that like this attention, everyone's gonna know. Listen, people don't.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
the ego. That's everything that comes
yeah,
with that. And again, these are things you learn after getting sober, or you already know.
yeah,
I don't even know who's listening, other than I do know my mom listens, and
yeah.
actually, I don't even know. I think she's watched The Office. I'm like, I don't know. I watched that like because I was old enough that that was like something I watched at in my early or my late teens, early 20s. But
Yep.
anyways, it's just I think that's a classic. It never goes out of style.
Yeah.
What's the best way for people to connect with you? So you have The Office, but I'm very intrigued by the bear crawl
The name of the race is the Bloomsday Run or Bloomsday
because
Race.
that's gonna be your focus now, kind of right for the next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll still do both office recovery and Bloomsday, but definitely focus will shift a little bit towards the Bloomsday over the next year. But yeah, so the easiest way to get a hold of me is Instagram. From my Instagram page, you can find my emails and stuff like that to contact me. But it's just at Office Recovery is the kind of the main hub, and then at the Bloomsday Bear Crawl is the other one. I mean, it's just that's probably the easiest way. Or on Facebook, same thing. You just search Bloomsday Bear Crawl or Office Recovery, and I'm on there as well. So
I will have those links in the
yeah,
bio too, so that way people can easily find it and click on it. I People are all about again, we talk about that. You got to get that window. You got to
yeah,
make it easy. I don't want to have to do a lot of clicks, so I make sure it's all in the show notes and it's all able
yeah.
to be accessed. Yeah, is there
Perfect.
and there's merch too that you're selling and is the best way
Yeah,
to just go through the Instagram site and get how do you purchase merch?
yeah. I've got a link in my bio for Office Recovery, and then I've got merch coming probably in June for the Bloomsday Bear Crawl as well. So sweet hats like this, T-shirts like this, and a bunch of other stuff.
Colin and
Tons
I
of
will be
stuff.
getting one,
So
so
yeah.
yeah.
And the great thing about that too is proceeds from all the merch is gonna go right into the donation fund. So, but yeah, so that's coming. But yeah, you can get I've got World's Best Sober mugs. I've got a bunch of t-shirts and some that are like blatantly recovery related, and then also some that are a lot more subtle that, if you're just listening to this and you just like kind of inspirational, funny stuff, there's stuff there for you too. So just Instagram page and then click the link on the bio and you'll make your way to my shop.
I can also put the link for the shop in there too. So I'll make sure that it's always great to know too. You can start Instagram. I think even like link trees and whatnot. But Instagram's been better about adding more links. So well, also I'm so grateful that you came on the podcast today. Like you have such great information to share, very relatable in this charity. I'm so excited to kind of watch that grow. And are people going to be like a part of it in person in June, or is there going to be like for the actual bear crawl, are people coming to watch or you haven't figured that out?
I mean, I don't know. That would be kind of fun to do, is to invite folks out to the race just to go with me. I have had zero responses on folks that want to bear crawl it with me.
It's
I've
a
had
hard thing, right? Like you
Yeah,
said
it is
7 miles.
7.46 miles. Yeah. So it's a 12K on your hands and feet the whole way, with like crazy elevation changes. I've asked a handful of folks to bear crawl it with me, and everyone has given a very quick no. That's totally okay. But I'm going to have like live feeds up as it's going. And yeah, I mean, if people want to, show up and support in person, that would be great. And then, I don't know where this thing's going to go. If it becomes like an annual thing, I think that'd be super fun. I think it'd be fun to do like have recovery people each do a mile or do half a mile or a quarter mile or something like
Way more manageable.
do stations like that, and do the same kind of thing and raise funds again. And so there's a whole bunch of different ways we can go with it. Right now, I'm just focused on this year, training for it, getting it done, and just raising as much as possible to help folks. So yeah, all that information will be coming out more on the fundraising side in June. And for now, yeah, just if anyone's listening to this, follow the Bloomsday Bear Crawl, share it, just get the word out as much as possible. Donations will be open for both corporate sponsorship as well as individual donations. So if you also know of an organization that kind of vibes with that mission, I'm looking for corporate sponsors. I will do marketing for you. I'll wear your gear as I crawl, things like that to help promote your company. So I'd love to do like a company a mile, and I'll just switch out at every mile marker and rep a new company, get you some publicity.
It's for a good cause. It's helping. Yeah. I mean, I don't
Yep,
think
it's
you're
all
gonna
for
have
a good
to
cause. Yeah,
sell people on it too much. I think the people that will vibe with you will happily help because again, it's the sober. We got to stick together. Like that's how we do recover. So
absolutely.
yeah, and it's really cool that you're doing something like that. You also receive. So you're like literally, this isn't you're not you're seeing one of the results of this. So like literally close to home, and you can speak to it. And I think it probably doesn't feel like a fundraiser when you believe in it that closely because it's not
Yeah.
work to say it's going for a really good cause. So again, I'm excited to share. I'm excited to watch. If Sober Banter takes off, we will totally jump in. All right. Well, I know individual wise, but as corporate wise.
Yeah.
So well, this has been great. Thank you so much again for coming on. And thank you to anyone listening to Sober Banter and listening to the man behind the office recovery and the bear crawl. So stay tuned for more. And thank you.
Mm-hmm.